doesn't.
So what is it? What creates
Okay. There's an old saying that the road to hell pays the sidewalk on that road. Alright. That's what moves you down that hill. That's what takes you down to that road of destruction.
I just don't know what's going on with this place. I saw Bigfoot, saw the darkness, saw the spirit in the darkness, and I saw something fly me from outer space. There is the spirits, they're all around us, and they all leave anytime soon. They're trying to communicate, we're trying to communicate. I need more equipment in this room. Somebody get another team. We gotta get this clean. Don't stumble on this.
Well, welcome everybody to our edition of Paranormal Plus. That's Tracy. He's singing, and the camera calls are going off.
Oh,
How you doing, Tracy? Hello,
I'm doing-
Catherine,
I'm doing-
Denise, Debbie, Yolanda, Dr. Yolanda.
hello, everybody.
What do you think about that song? Roger? Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's cutting out on me. I don't know if I just have bad reception tonight or not. It's real cloudy here, and I'm down at the bottom of a hill. So,
Yeah, I gotta get a better copy of that song. Is probably what I need. The one song that you sent me was a lot better. I think a lot clearer. This one, I think I got it's sped up a little bit.
oh, really?
Yeah,
The one I
yeah,
sent you today?
yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome. I'm gonna slide on in. Good evening for a Wednesday. I hope everybody's enjoying hump day. So the cat ball's going off. The REM pod just went off. Interesting. I hooked it up in the green room. So hello, Kelly Elliott, Joanne Stewart. Hello, Eric, in your kilt. Eric, do not get on the ladder, man. Whatever you do, don't get on the ladder. Don't kill me. Yes, he had. I had to go see a psychiatrist now. Hey, why is every time I talk about Eric, he looks around and laughs? Hey, Gene Hudson, how you doing? So what we got going on today?
Well, we have a group actually on today. 3 people from a group anyway. Charon
Really?
Paranormal. So I got a little bio from them. They wanted to go back out and do some paranormal investigating. Kathy and I believe Lee. Sorry about that. I got his name finally today. We were just Lou, Kathy and Lou, and they have been investigating for over 30 years.
Wow.
But yeah, they before the explosion of all the paranormal TV shows, they named the group after the Greek mythological name of the ferryman that takes you across the river Styx. Their group is mostly comprised of 9/11 workers and healthcare providers. 911 workers, and I'm an idiot. Healthcare providers. They have seasoned, experienced investigators, relatively new people within their group. They don't care anything about religious beliefs, and they don't care about occult practices, anything like that. They do insist that you leave all of that out at the door when they investigate. So I like that about them. You know, they no judgments or anything like that, right? They have an objective approach, and let's bring him on and we can talk to him.
Well, welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing?
How are you, Grizzly? How are you, Tracy? Thanks for having us on.
Welcome. Doing fine. Thank you. So introduce yourselves.
My name is Lou. This is Brooke. This is Andrea. There's some of the newer members of our group, and the rest couldn't make it because they're working and have family obligations.
Right. Totally understand that. Absolutely.
Where are you guys based out of?
Philadelphia, but we'll travel anywhere within reason, and we'll go pretty much anywhere.
All right, cool. So I know you've been into it for a long time, and all three of you are going to have different experiences, but at the beginning that got you into it. So let's start with you, Lou. You're the longest serving out of the three of you, I would assume. What got you into this?
So I guess it's kind of like a lot of people's stories. I had a lot of occurrences, experiences as a kid, got older, and then I wanted to kind of see if I could validate it, make sure I wasn't crazy, just see what was out there. And I was always interested in the occult and the paranormal. I was always interested in the things that people couldn't really explain. I'm one of those, I don't get it until you actually literally word for word explain it to me, because I'm always going to have some sort of doubt. And that's pretty much why I got into it and started to pursue it.
Okay. What about you, the other guys there?
Throughout my whole childhood, we've had many instances that things couldn't be explained. We've had, baskets thrown down the stairs, balls thrown down the stairs. I've been scratched, but when I was like 13, I got scratched. My mom was staging the house, and they didn't want to touch her, but they touched me. But I don't know, it's something that we've always kind of been into in my family. So we've done like our own EVPs and, houses that we've lived in where like strange things were happening. And then I had the opportunity to go with Lou and actually like go places to investigate.
Gotcha. What about you, Brooke?
I kind of just tagged along, if I'm being honest. It's always piqued my interest. I used to watch all of like the paranormal shows with my dad when I was younger, and I just thought it was interesting, so I tagged along and haven't stopped since.
So it's interesting because you're the younger crowd, right? I'm looking at you and thinking that. So being with these other people in the group, I'm assuming they're your mentors in the paranormal field. And what do you foresee, or what have they done for you that they've shown you anything that gives you any proof when you're out investigating? What do you like about it? I always like to hear from the younger generation. What do you like about it? What intrigues you when you guys are out on a hunt? What do they show you that makes you really not skeptical, makes you really believe?
I think when we try to debunk it and we try every possibility and it just can't be done.
Gotcha.
Like
So,
if a cat goes off on the floor and then we kind of step near it or stomp near it and nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I understand that completely. One of my go-to things is, the EMF meter. If I can have a conversation with it, make it start and stop, I really truly believe that's not debunkable. That's something that somebody's really communicating with you. Now, if it's sitting there and just flashing green to red, yellow, white, whatever, not white, but it's hard to say there's really something there. What type of equipment do you typically take on any of your hunts?
Pretty old school. So I don't believe in a lot of the, I guess, more sophisticated, more popular equipment. But in my group, in my group, it doesn't matter like whatever religious belief you have, that stays at the door. Whatever occult you're into or traditional things like that stays at the door. We're all into different things, but we want to do this in a very objective way and not bring that into it. So we wanted to try, like, just go from the ground up and see what we can get. As far as equipment that I prefer, I mean, the audio recorder, video recorder, we always bring a Ouija board and we do it. We have dowsing rods, cat balls, EMF detectors, a thermal camera. And then a few of the people in the group, they have REM pods, so they bring them and we try it. And it's kind of cool to see when you set up all the equipment, what gets a reaction versus what doesn't. I'll give you an example. We did the Atlantic City Lighthouse. And the guy there, I'll give him a plug, Milton. He's an awesome dude. So if you get a chance to do the Absecon Lighthouse in Atlantic City, go do it. We had some interesting things happen in the lighthouse, but outside in the oil house, we had a REM pod set up in the middle. We had EMF detectors around it. And then we did the perimeter of the room with cat balls. The only things that would respond were the cat balls. And the cat balls weren't, what's the word I'm looking for? They weren't sporadic. They actually they were positive to yes and no questions or different things like that. And then I'm not a big spirit box kind of guy. I'm old school. So I get like out the old Radio Shack AM FM transistor radio, and I'll put it on an AM station where there is no station. So you get the constant white noise, so that if you get something, somehow maybe you can interact if you get something that's actually answering you, which I just got to tell you, it's really weird. We did the Conjuring House this last year, and we had cameras all over the place, and I had that radio set up in the middle of what used to be the dining room, which is now the living room, next to where the Mr. and Mrs. Prone's bedroom were. Mm-hmm. And you could hear some static going on the radio, but then out of nowhere, Pat Benatar came on, and I thought that was really odd. So I didn't know what that was about. And then, just old techniques, like that old technique where you're all blacked out in a room, everybody gets calm, and then somebody does a strobe in the corner of the room, and you take multiple pictures to see if you catch something in between the strobes. I like to keep it old school, because I think the least amount of technology you put in there, it seems like it's easier to prove versus where you have so much going on. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I know Chris and I talk about a lot. That's awesome that you guys utilize those methods, and that you're actually teaching. Not teaching, but the people that are coming with you are able to see those type of methods. A lot of people go to these, I'm one of them. My partner in Paralink.com, he's an engineer, so he tries to make these different things, but a piece of equipment, and some of them are pretty cool. But I'm like you. I prefer, for the most part, the older stuff. That's neat. What about you, Chris? What do you prefer? You like listening to the recordings, don't you?
Yeah, I like, I'm open to anything, the cat balls, ghost balls, the REM pods, EVPs, anything. I do all kinds of different types, techniques, the night vision goggles, infrared. I'm into all that stuff. So yeah, the ghost box. So yeah.
Well, Grizz is into, he's into Bigfoot hunting a lot too. He's into a lot of paranormal and into the Bigfoot hunting. What do you guys think about cryptids like that? Have you guys ever experienced any of that, or are you guys just straight up paranormal spirit investigators?
Well, we've never gone out and done that investigation, but I would say, I mean, you can't discount stuff. I mean, I think it would be arrogant to think that things don't exist just because you haven't seen one, or something's elusive, or you can't, track it down. I mean, doesn't mean it's out there just because you haven't seen it yet. Look what we do with the ghost hunting, right? So you'll have an EMF detector or something go off, and the people that believe, you believe there's something in the room when you're trying to communicate, but other people are like, well, I don't really see anything. What's the proof? And I mean, I'm probably, as much as I'm in all the different things and I believe a lot of this stuff, I'm probably, out of the group, I'm probably the worst skeptics, because a lot of times they're always getting upset with me, because no matter what happens, I'm going nuts trying to debunk the hell out of it. Because I guess my belief is, if you can't debunk it, then it's got to be something that's either not of this world or something else is going on. So, I mean, like when we do a house, if we do like a private investigation, I'll ask the people if they can, like an hour or two before, everything's got to be turned off, electricity, water, all of that stuff. So, you don't have the ductwork is expanding and contracting, and you don't have pipes rattling. So you try to let the house settle and go in that way.
No, that's a good point.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, because typically a lot of places that we hunt with, with that paranormal, we don't. It's all older places where really it's just light that's in there. There's no running water or anything like that. But on private hunts, I never even thought about asking people to turn their stuff off an hour before we get there. Because usually when they're there, somebody's using the bathroom, somebody's doing something, and that is energy.
But you got to agree, right? It is nice to do a private house where you have either heat or air, or at least you have an indoor bathroom and not have to go out in the woods or have to use a porta potty. That's always a plus.
Yeah. Ashmore Estates up there in Charleston. We did that one year during the December, and oh my God, about froze to death. But no, I agree with you on that. How many members are in your team, on your team?
We have, let's see, off the top of my head. So we have a core of between 8 to 10, and then it'll bulge out to a little bit like the 14 or 15. So we're a very tight group. We invite anybody. I mean, don't care about your background. Don't care, if you've been doing this forever. Don't care if you just want to see what it's all about. And we usually give people, I know this is going to sound mean, but we usually give people 1 or 2 investigations. And then it's kind of like, they got to go, or they seem like they can stay. So
I think all of us do that to an extent. You either know they're going to fit in or they're not, right? From experience, I've had a few people like that, and always nice about it, kind about it, but sometimes it's just not jiving. It's just not jiving. Get some animosity from other people on your team. Believe me, been there a few times. But it's not nothing. You don't want to discourage them from doing it, but you just have to understand.
Yeah, and the reason I think we would ask people not to come back, because everybody in a group, we all have little quirks. We're all kind of into different stuff, so we all kind of gel pretty well. But it's if the people start doing some odd things. Like I had a gentleman, he came on a couple investigations, and then out of nowhere, for some reason, he threw himself to the floor. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, what's going on? So it was kind of like, I'm going to pass out. Something's going on. He threw himself to the floor. And, a lot of us are medics and nurses and that. So we can tell when somebody's really passing out and when somebody's not passing out, or if somebody's on something. So we were kind of like, what's this guy doing? And then the woman that owns the mansion, she came up to me. She's like, I can't have that. It's a liability. And I go, I get it. So I don't know if that makes any sense to you. So,
absolutely.
If we don't ask you to come back, it's because of that. If you're like, I don't know, if you're weird, nerdy, odd, that's not going to get you out. But we're more like a security and a safety thing. So a lot of the places will trust us and they'll leave us, and they do hey, when you guys leave, can you lock up? So we don't want any issues or problems. And then again, by nature, we're all 911 workers. So we take the safety and security kind of serious.
And one of the things, you just brought that up, 911 workers. That's pretty cool. So all you guys, I'm assuming you work in the same area, or how'd you guys all meet?
Well, we like Andrea. So I work for the Philadelphia Fire Department. I've been a paramedic for 30 years, and I'll be with the city coming up on 28 years this January, but I only got 2 years and 3 months left, but I'm not counting. So Andrea's mother, I've known her a long time, and it's the same thing. When I'm at work, sometimes people approach me and they go, yo, man, you're that dude with the witchcraft, occult stuff, ghost stuff. And then that's where the conversation starts. And then it's amazing what everybody wants to just reveal. So I end up being like a paranormal therapist, I guess. And then, somebody knows somebody down the line and we go that way. And then an interesting story, I had a new general practitioner doctor last week, and I posted this on Facebook. So we're sitting there talking, and the one woman that was in the room with me taking my labs and stuff, she's all interested in the paranormal. So hopefully she's going to come on some investigations with us because she's interested. And then lo and behold, they had a Ouija board in the doctor's office that one of the nurses had in her house, that her son didn't use it anymore, but she felt uncomfortable with the Ouija board in the house. So I was like, bring it here, I'll take it. So it's kind of weird. So people pop everywhere. And I think so many people are interested into the paranormal, into the occult, into the cryptids. They just don't know who to speak to, or they feel odd. It's like anything else. You think you're the only one, or you think somebody's going to look at you funny when you talk about it. But then when you start seeing how many people there are from all different walks, the whole paranormal and all of the stuff that we talk about, it transcends all kind of socioeconomical, race, gender, all of that stuff, because everybody's had an experience or everybody's curious about it.
Well, I remember growing up and you'd run across people that were just a little bit different in the paranormal before I got into the paranormal, you know. And unfortunately, and Chris and I have talked about this before, you know, and you know, we're all, I'm assuming, within 10 years of each other, you know, for the most part. You would it was almost not blacklisted or anything like that, but go back to goth, for instance, stuff like that, you know, people would just see a whole different experience. Whereas now, last couple of years, it's gained such attention that the people that never used to brag about it or come out and talk about it are actually out there talking about it. So, I mean, it's awesome. I think it's great. The paranormal community, for the most part, at one point in time was kind of shunned a little bit, but now they're coming back. Now there's a lot of positive and a lot of negative that goes with that. Whenever you gain so many people so quickly into a community like that you're always going to have the positive people trying to spread positivity. I try to spread positivity all the time. Chris does a great job at spreading the positivity, you know. But you read on Facebook here and there, or even you go to different sites and it's on there. People, you know, some people bad mouthing the paranormal, some people just being negative. I don't really want to dive into that too much, but you know, we've all experienced it. But hopefully, as we continue to grow, the people that are doing any negativity will either A, turn positive, or B, just step out. You know what I mean? I mean, we're all supposed to be a community. What do you think, Chris?
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And that's what we're in for.
You know, man, we talk a lot too about, you know, like we said earlier, bringing up the younger people into it. So when younger people reach out to me or even to Chris or anybody like that, we always, if they're in a different area, we try to point them in the right direction, you know, of where to go and then who they can get with. And of all the, we talk to a lot of people, you know, every Wednesday we have a podcast, and we've had a lot of people on here, all the way from what, Chris, from Bigfoot hunters to paranormal people. Oh my gosh. Just different types of the
all the way to fairies. Yes.
Yeah. And all of them that we've talked to are very positive, and they're trying to welcome in the new people and to be mentors to them. So
I think that diversity is kind of the key. So when you have a group and everybody is into different things, it brings something to the group rather than everybody's kind of just like straight up gray, like meat and potatoes. So you have a variety of people, you know, that have done different research, or they have different backgrounds, or they have different experiences. That's always a plus. It would be kind of neat though if at some point somewhere along the line you could have like a body of paranormal investigators make some sort of like a standard or whatever, because like you were saying, and I know you think, right, and you said you didn't want to touch on it, but I think there's just a little bit too much one-upping or group being confrontational and negative. Like on my Facebook, I post all kinds of questions, and I don't post them to start anything. I post them to try and spark some discussion, and I open it up. And I mean, I don't care what you believe in, what you do, what you found, what you haven't found. I want everybody just to discuss it and, you know, explain why. But then you got the people that are attacking the other people for their views and opinions. And that's kind of gotta, you know, I don't know. Like you said, it's kind of got to go away. But I think that makes it a little bit difficult for the newer people when you have different organizations or groups, you know, trying to do that. So.
No, understood. So you guys have done a lot of hunts, and I'll ask you specifically because you've been in it seems like the longest, and you may have something better than all three of you together. What is the most haunted place or scariest place you guys have been to that you're like, holy crap, why are we here?
Well, me personally, I know I'm gonna come off like this is gonna be like the testosterone talking, but I've never been anywhere I've been afraid or creepy. I mean, So like on the side, I'm kind of more into the dark kind of stuff. But if you think about it, when you go into the place, I don't get all into the heavy duty, everything's demonic and everything's like possessed. And oh my God, you're going to have an attachment and this is bad. I mean, we've had some really good experiences and I've had a lot of really unexplainable experiences. But me personally, I'll go anywhere, hang out, But I think if you want to say maybe the creepiest place for me, oof. I think I would have to say way back in the way early 90s when I would help out at Fort Mifflin with the ghost tours, because one of my daughters was going to Penn State and she was working on her being an archaeologist. So he got an internship there. So I would help out with the ghost tours and stuff like that. And this was I was into it, hadn't been into it for a while. And then, I think not that it was unsettling. It was creepy. Like when I would do the tours, if I could just say this real quick, and one of the casemates, they call it the torpedo casemates. And I know I probably shouldn't say this, but people are going to hate me for this. In the center of the casemate, there's a square cut out in the floor because that's how they would float the ordnance, because they didn't have propulsion back then. So they would just float the man-made torpedoes out to the river, and whatever they hit, they hit. So it's like it's a casemate. It's all enclosed in concrete, and there's that square in the floor, and there's a railing. So what I would do is I would explain to people about how water is believed to be a conduit to the spirit world and things like that. So I would have everybody put their hands on the rail and just stare at the water. And I guess this is probably a bad thing to do, but I would usually walk behind somebody and either stroke their hair or just gently touch them, and then they'd all go screaming out of the room. So.
What about
had a lot of good experiences in Fort Mifflin. That's a good place.
No, that's awesome. What about you, Andrea, Brooke? Where have you been so far that you guys have just been creeped out or scared crazy? Or have you been anywhere like that?
Like the investigations that we've been on, with the group, you're never really like scared, because we do like to keep it fun. Like we joke around, because no matter what, like you think spirits feed off energy. So if you're putting out that energy and you're laughing and you're having a good time, you think like they're probably feeding off of that. You're going to get more than just sitting in a dark room, not doing anything. So I don't think I've ever been like actually scared on an investigation, but growing up, like some of the places I lived, definitely. Like even to this day, I probably wouldn't go in there by myself.
Yeah, no, I understand that. What about you, Brooke?
What's that one place we went to where my hair got touched? That was Britain.
Yeah, that was Britain Lodge.
Yeah, that was like the first like actual experience I had, and it was weird. I don't know. It freaked me out, and I was like, I don't want to be in here anymore.
I thought that when we went to the Conjuring house, that was going to be really scary, and it was freaky, but not in the sense of like, oh, like stuff's happening, I'm scared. It felt so welcoming in there. Like it wants you to want to stay.
Oh, really?
Like I felt so comfortable in that house, and that was the freaky part, because okay, now I'm comfortable now, like, oh, I want to stay, and then stuff starts to happen,
Yeah.
So they kind of like, it's like that house wants to like lure you in a little bit, It's weird, because I can walk into a room and say, okay, like it's heavy in here, and that's what you would expect from something as famous as the Conjuring house.
Yeah.
And it was just so welcoming. Like we spent the night there, and
we had a good time there.
Yeah.
We Ouija board, dowsing rods, everything. We had a good time there. I mean, I only had one experience in there, but it wasn't like horrific or horrible. And I think a lot of these places, you really got to disassociate the celebrity part of it, or the popular like Hollywood historical part of it. And you got to, I think it kind of makes it difficult. So like when we do an investigation, they'll tell you, I ask the people that, they walk you through the place first to make sure safety issues, you don't fall down or whatever. But I always say to them, I don't want to know anything paranormal about this place. So when they talk about paranormal stuff, I'll either walk away or I go outside or whatever, because I think if you're walking through a building and somebody says, oh, and here's the room where the lady in white is always seen, well, then all night long, everybody's going to be seeing the lady in white.
Yep.
So I want to know historically about the location, but I don't want to know anything paranormal about it. So I think that gives you more of an organic experience when something happens. And then what I do to them, and they always think it's funny, if we're wherever we're at and there's a door, I always stand against the door. And that's to make sure nobody runs out if something happens, because I always say, you're asking for something to happen and now it happened. Where are you going? That's rude. You got to hang out, right?
Yeah.
I do think that with them not telling us specific things, like even when we're still walking around a little bit, like at the Conjuring house, I went into where the kitchen was, like the dining room where like our base was at. And I looked out the window and I could have sworn that a face was staring back at me and it wasn't mine. And I went over to the, what was her name?
Tori?
Yeah. Was it?
No, Santori.
Yeah, Santori.
If I'm saying it right.
Yeah. And I asked her, I was like, hey, like, do people see like faces out the window? And she went, yeah, like Native American. I was like, you know what? A little bit. I wouldn't say that like, yeah, but like a little bit. She was like, yeah, people see them like they like guard the house basically and they walk around and they peer in. I was like, That was
There's
like as soon as we got there too.
Oh man, that's crazy. There's a documentary out there called Sleepless Unrest that came out a couple of years ago about the Conjuring house. I went and saw a preview of it, and I met the owners of the house at that particular time. And the documentary is just like 7 nights inside the house, and they're following it's Rochelle and Brian Murray and Rochelle Stratton, following them around. It was a good documentary. I believe those people. I believe that it's real, but it's just like you said, that whenever they first got there, they felt like they were welcomed, and you didn't really see nothing happen right off the bat. But as they continued to stay there, it really it started getting a little bit better. I like that well in the basement. I'd really like to go there sometime to stay the night.
We did a little seance down there in the basement by the well. But I think also a lot of times, like, you see the shows, you hear other people, and they're in there, and like as soon as they walk through the door, things are happening. I think you have to do a place more. Obviously, you got to do a place more than once. You get comfortable in a place, where the different spots are, or you are more accustomed with it. So if there's really something there, and I say that because, again, I believe in all of it, and I don't believe in all. So I think it's like anything else. You go into somebody's house the first time, people are kind of be a little, not necessarily standoffish, but it's like, I don't know you. Why do I need to talk to you kind of thing. And I think the more you go, they get to know you, you get to know them, and then there's like a familiarity there. And I think if there really is things that we investigate and we really do make contact with things, I think they're going to want to really, I think they're going to really want to deal with people that are open, that are there for a sincere reason. You're not there to do anything harmful. You're not there to be, to sensationalize stuff. We don't do any of the provoking. We don't go in and start, screaming at things. I don't even know what that gets you. But it's like anything else. Whatever you put out comes back, right? So if you're going to walk in there like a tough guy and you get pushed down the steps, well, then you asked for it, right?
Exactly. You talked about not really. There's not too many places that really affect you or scare you or anything like that. I know where Chris gets scared. Chris gets scared right there in that studio. He's got dolls right above his head. He's got some old dolls.
Oh yeah.
And you'll see he's got a cat ball in there too. You'll see it go off every once in a while. But
I love haunted objects. It seems like everybody's always giving me stuff. I have a friend of mine at work. He went to a garage sale. He bought this painting. It's actually pretty creepy. It's a bunch of young girls at a table, like like a tea party. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of odd because they just have like a really creepy look, and the animals that are in the picture with them, they're kind of looking at you like, please help us. So his wife is from South America, and she's very superstitious about stuff. So my friend Joe brings the painting home, and he says to her, or his wife said to him, get that out of the house. It's haunted. So right off the bat, he didn't even get to put it up. It's sat, I think, in his basement, wrapped in canvas, wrapped in plastic. And I don't know if they had like a religious relic near it or something, but it was never allowed to be open. And he was cleaning out the basement, and he calls me up and he goes, hey, I got this painting, and I go, just bring it over. I'll take it. So I got lots of stuff that people give me. But I don't know. Maybe it's me, because all of these objects that people get, and then all of a sudden everything goes, for lack of a better term, goes to hell. You know, I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
I feel like you have like some kind of like something scares them away. Because we will every investigation we all start in one room and Lou kind of, takes control of it. There's new people. Lou's kind of, walking them through it and having them ask questions and things like that. And nothing ever happens. If you are with Lou, you will have a really bad night.
No, that's not always true.
But
That's
we
not always
have
true.
like, we do split up, and most of the time it's like an hour in a room, and you're just like, all right, I'm over it. I want to go to a different room. And like that, you're having cat balls go off, REM pod go off, and Lou's like, oh, nothing's happening for me. I think
That's not always
you
true. Don't
have
believe it.
a darkness around you
No, I don't.
that you scare them off.
Oh, I've had, I've had my pant leg tore open, but not tore open. I started staggering, thinking I was falling over something. And then I looked down, and they were a pair of jeans, and the seam from the knee to my ankle, the thread was pulled out, but there was nothing else around me, so I couldn't explain that. I've had my hair pulled.
Yeah.
I've had experiences. I mean, when we did Atlantic City, all those cat balls, I was the only one asking the questions, and they were answering. And I'll touch on the Ouija board real quick. So I respect everybody's view and opinion on a Ouija board. Do I think that I'm personally opening a portal to hell? No, I don't think that I am. Right? The world we live in is hellish enough, right? You don't need to have a board do that for you. The only time in over 30 years I've ever had anything positive happen with a Ouija board at, gotta say the lodge because I always say the name wrong.
Britton Lodge.
So Britton Lodge in Berks County. It's in Douglasville in Berks County in Pennsylvania. The lady that owns it, her name is Eileen. She's the most amazing lady. She's so sweet. She's so welcoming. She's awesome. She enjoys going with the groups that do the investigations with her because she's just so into it. But she and I were in this one room, and we were doing the Ouija board one night. And a lot of times when we do the Ouija board, I'll set up flashlights all around because I kind of don't want anybody to put the full weight of their fingers on the planchette, right? So just barely touch it because the guy or the girl that's doing the speaking, they're supposed to be the medium. But to me, it seems like when you get 3 or 4 people on there, it's always going to move somewhere. And I think that goes more to like a psychological component with the group. You want something to happen. So, but Eileen and I were sitting there, and I had 2 fingers from my left hand. She had 2 fingers from her right hand. And we're just looking at each other, and the room felt okay. It didn't feel creepy, scary, oppressive, anything like that. There wasn't like a dark presence or whatever. And all of a sudden, the planchette on its own just went up and to the left 1 3/4 inches. And it was kind of cute. Eileen looked at me. She goes, "Did you do that?" And I was like, "I didn't do anything." So that's the only thing I've ever gotten from that. I mean, if other people get different things, then that's great. I get more response probably with dowsing rods. I've used dowsing rods and get them to respond pretty well.
I don't mess with the Ouija board. My wife actually owns one, and it's at her other house, and it's not coming over here.
Okay.
Just always been my whole belief, my whole life with the Ouija board. But Chris, you ever mess with the Ouija board?
No way. Nope. I'm good.
You've messed with the dowsing rods, though.
Yes, the pendulums, yes, not the rods yet.
I mean, anything could be a Ouija board. You don't have to have a specific board, with the numbers and the letters and all. I mean, you can make anything. See, that's what I think. A lot of this stuff, like in the paranormal, and maybe I'll get grief for this, but this is my belief. A lot of the stuff in the paranormal and then in the occult and this and that, like if you do rituals and you do things in a house and you sage and this and that, I think all of that it's like psychodrama. It's leading to a point. But do you really need to do all that to get a response? No. If something's there and it wants to communicate with you, it's going to happen. I mean, I don't think when people wear amulets or, somebody's got an obsidian and a bag of blessed salt in their pocket, that's going to protect them. Because if you think about it, if these things can transcend time and space, or they can move about the earth in different dimensions, how is any of that going to protect you? I think what it is it's the individual investigator, it's the individual practitioner being so confident with themselves or their belief or whatever that gives that thing whatever it is they choose to use the power to protect them. Because I do think there's a large psychological component to the paranormal. making things happen or believing things happen. So.
Well, you bring up a good point. A lot of people, especially, skeptics, they have to see it to believe it, right? They have to have some type of evidence, whether it's something on tape or obviously something on the screen. You can flip through the spirit box all day long, and like you said, that it's a cool device. Is that going to give you 100% accuracy? Some people swear on their lives that it does. Other people are like, well, it really doesn't. You're just getting freaked little parts of a word from somebody saying something on a different channel every two seconds.
But even when you show the skeptics a really good, like I sent you, I don't know if you got them. I sent you a couple pictures in EVP, right? So that one picture I sent you where there's a bar that was at White Hill Mansion, which again, that's in South Jersey. And if you've not had a chance to go there, you need to check out White Hill Mansion. So if you see a little bit of the green light, I was down the corridor and I was trying to set up one of those laser grids. Everybody else was seated at the other end of the bar. And then all of a sudden the motion lights on their own started going off up the steps and somebody started snapping pictures. And there was this dude that looks like Michael Myers in the picture. I mean, we can't explain that.
I just forwarded him to you, Chris.
I got him.
And then the other picture, I don't know if you saw it, it's a French door, but if you look really close at the French door, in the glass, it looks to be a head and a face and part of an upper body, like part of a torso. And that I got off of a video camera because I usually leave cameras all over the place and just let them run. And then we all know the joy of sitting there for hours after hours just watching a room, right, with nothing going on. But that thing, whatever it is, appeared in that window or in the French door for about maybe, 15, 20 minutes, and then it was gone. So when you show that to a skeptic, they're always going to tell you something. It's fake, or it's this, or it's that.
What is in the audio? I have not listened to that yet. Before we do that, he's got a picture up there. Why don't you talk about that real quick?
That picture right there, that was at Boob's Brewery in Lancaster, and that's another cool place to look. And the one woman sitting at the table, her name is Jen. She's a paramedic with the fire department. But if you look close where the bar is, we don't know what that is. We don't know who that is because there was nobody at the bar. I was taking a picture, and then Andrea and her mother were seated at another table. Another investigator that comes every once in a while, Maria, she was sitting at the farther end of the room. And then there was a woman behind me, using an EMF detector and checking stuff out. And I was just randomly snapping pictures. And when we got the picture, we got that. So I can't explain that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know. That picture always sends a chill down my spine. It's like you see the definition. Looks like it's going to go get her.
Or I don't know. I kind of thought, well, maybe it's just a barmaid and she's tired for the night and she's leaning on the bar. Who knows?
Could be.
And that's the one. This one here is at White Hill Mansion. So you see the green light. I'm in that corridor back there, setting up a laser grid. Because again, we try all different things. And then you see the light on the step. The motion lights started to go off. And then one of the women in our group, Mary Jane, she started randomly snapping pictures. And when she got that picture, I'll just say this for all investigators. Don't review your evidence while you're driving home. Okay. So she's driving home on the turnpike and she's freaking out, like wigging out, sending me these pictures. And I'm like, Mary Jane, I hope you're paying attention to driving. Go through the evidence tomorrow, the next day, but don't do it while you're driving. But she was so excited that she got that and she sent it to us. And that figure, I think, has to go with the EVP that I sent you. So if you listen to that EVP, you have to listen to it really carefully, but I'll explain it to you. There was a guy in a group with us, and it was Andrea's cousin named Jordan, and I was trying to show him how to use the dowsing rods or what to do. And one of the volunteers there, her name's Dawn, she always says that she feels like there's a dark presence in that basement, because we all know the historical buildings, right? During Prohibition, they turned their basements into a speakeasy, and that's what that is. And they had a lot of mobsters from New York and North Jersey would stay in there. But the lady Dawn always says there's a heavy presence down there. She feels uncomfortable. Yeah. So Jordan is asking in the EVP, he says, am I speaking to, or are we in the presence of the dark entity that doesn't like Dawn down here? And you hear some background music going on, and then all of a sudden, it's Apple Siri, right?
Yeah.
So one of the ladies had a phone, and she had an Apple phone, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, her phone answered, and it said, "Indeed you are." Now, I'm not an Apple person, but what was odd was when we do investigations, I tell everybody, put your phone on airplane mode unless you really need to be able to communicate with the outside world. So at least on airplane mode, you could still do pictures, you could do recordings, whatever it is you need to do. So her phone was on airplane mode, and when she pulled out her phone out of the pocket, the little blue, I guess, Siri thing was swirling at the bottom, and it had answered her, and nobody can explain to me how that happened or why it happened. And then we tried, putting it online and asking it questions, and then it wouldn't answer anything.
So what you're saying in this picture right here, the circle, that's you, or is that not you?
No, that's nobody. If you see the green laser light to the right of that.
Yeah. Okay.
I was down that corridor, and everybody started getting excited. They were like, "Oh hell, the lights are going off. The motion lights on the steps were going off." And then we started snapping Mary Jane, a woman in our group, started snapping pictures. And when she looked at her pictures, that's what was in the picture. But there was nobody standing there.
Yeah, it does look like Michael Myers a little bit.
Doesn't it? I mean, maybe Michael was following us around. I don't know.
Yeah, this picture creeps me out because I don't like that basement to begin with.
The last time that we went there, we got a lot of good evidence and things going on, catcalls.
Yeah.
Now, this what you sent me, the audio is from this, right?
Yeah, it was down in that basement. So I don't know if you can play.
I'm going to play it and see if we can't hear it. I'm not able to forward it, but let me see if we can hear it. So,
get for 1 second.
Maybe
1 second.
Oh.
I just got chills.
Did you guys hear that?
Yes.
What? I'm hard of hearing, and I'm right next to it, so I can't really hear it too well. What'd you hear, Chris?
I heard something, then I got chills, and everybody started laughing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My phone isn't that loud. My older iPhone's about had it. Was he going down to grab the recording? Is that where he went?
No, I think he just ran to the bathroom real quick.
Oh, okay.
Busted! Bathroom break.
The coffee kicked in. Sorry. But yeah, you heard that EVP. You heard the EVP, and I don't know if you heard the guy saying, am I speaking to her, or am I in the presence of the dark entity that doesn't like dawn down here? And in the background noise you have, trying to do like a trigger, we had some like period music playing in the back, and then out of nowhere you hear that "Indeed you are." So nobody can explain it to me, but to me, that is a direct answer to a direct question.
Actually, I was able to forward that to you, Chris.
Okay.
See if we can't play that. No, that's pretty cool. There's the picture
here.
The bottom one right there. That it's the audio.
Yeah, I see it. I see it.
That's the next picture. Okay. Now explain this picture, if you would, Lou.
So, and it's great how, you guys can show somebody, you can show 20 people a picture from an investigation, you will get 20 different interpretations of that picture. Yep. But I'll just tell you right off the bat, if you look at the French door, somebody needs to explain that to me, because if you look in that French door, the top pane of glass looks like a face, and then there's part of a body. But if you follow the glass down, what you see is the casement. You see the door frame behind it. There's no curtain behind that door. There's no painting behind that door. It's just an open French door. And that I pulled off of a video camera when I was watching the video. It was there, and then it wasn't there.
Interesting.
Yeah, I see a face up there. Right. Yeah. Right. You just had it on there. Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's the door leading into that same room where I had that experience, where my hair was touched.
Apparently, a lot of people in that room, they get touched or they'll feel a presence. And the story goes And it's pretty well documented. The lady that owns the mansion, Eileen, she's done some really good research on it, all dating all the way back to the original owners. And the building's over 300 years old. So the front part of the building's from the 1700s, then the center's the 1800s, and then the back end of it's the 1900s. But in that one particular room, they laid out a woman who passed away, and her name was Elmira. Is that Elmira? I don't know. But it's kind of weird that that pops up in the window like that.
Yeah, war criminal is saying it looks like a woman to him. That's interesting.
But I mean, you know, you can show that to like the skeptics, and even when you have like some sort of proof, they're still going to tell you they don't believe it. They're still going to tell you it was either fake or man-made. And if you've been doing this long enough, you can pretty much kind of tell when somebody's kind of like either embellishing or like helping it along a little bit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that place, that's the lodge. We're upstairs, and it's really neat. It's like something out of a movie. So the first time I was there, I'm walking down this corridor, and there were these heavy velvety curtains, and I said to Eileen, "What's behind these curtains?" So she said, "Open the curtain." So I opened it, and it was a semicircular room, and it had a table set up in the center, and it had chairs all around it, and bookshelves on both sides, like something you'd see in a movie where they do like an old time seance. And that's where we did the Ouija board. Yeah, and that's where the planchette moved for me. So
All right, here's the audio right now.
That does not like dawn down here. Somebody say indeed you are. Yo, is that someone's phone? That was somebody's Siri. Okay, I just got chills.
Okay, I heard it.
yeah, but
I actually heard the old period music too.
and the woman in our group, her name was Rita. You know, and it's funny because us older people, we love that our younger members have to always school us on the modern technology, right? But you know, somebody said, "Hey, I think your Siri went off on your phone." And again, like when she took that phone out of her pocket, I guess the blue globe or whatever was swirling at the bottom of the phone, but it was still on airplane mode.
Yeah, and I mean, even like with Siri, you have to either hold down on your lock button or say, "Hey Siri," for it to do anything.
That's like super.
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
that is.
No, that I'm glad that you guys were able to take pictures and get that audio. Like you said, it's hard to get a skeptic to even believe without anything anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but like we said, there are so many people out there doing it that you know you really have to be on your game and explain fully.
I think like what's happening like in the UFO community, you see how like, you know, heads of state and politicians and diplomats and even the military's coming out. That's lending the credibility to that, right? So I think until somebody, I guess, you know, either the scientific community or of some stature comes out and lends that credibility to the paranormal research and study, I don't think it's gonna, you know, I don't think it'll be where we want it to be, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know Chris works with mediums, and he's worked with some mediums that help the government, don't you, Chris?
Yes. I actually have one that was a remote viewer for the Defense Intelligence Agency and the CIA during the Cold War, and that spied on the Soviet Union and did all kinds of interesting stuff for the U.S. government. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
You know, and stuff like that, when you hear about that, of course, you know, like we said back then in the day, people didn't really believe in this stuff until all of it started coming out a few years ago. To me, that brings credibility to the medium side. I mean, whether we like the government or not, right? At least the government's using them and they believe them. And then, of course, you watch The Conjuring, you know, stuff like that with Elizabeth Warren. And you realize that she really did have some type of medium. She was some type of connection, and you start seeing these other people out there that never used to want to. It used to always be weird. They think they were weird because they were getting the same things that like Elizabeth Warren got. They were seeing stuff like that, but now they have places that they can actually vet that stuff and talk to people. Because I would imagine, I mean. I've talked to Grizzly before with other mediums, and you know, I talked about with Grizzly before about the death date thing. He has knows a medium that actually could tell you your death date. I'm not about to test that theory. I'm just going to believe she knows. I don't want to know about it. But
I
could
knew
you
she
imagine
knew,
having
because
to
when
walk?
she looked at me, I told Tracy, I said, I'm going to die before you. And Tracy turned white, and she just looked at me and was like, uh-oh, he knows.
Yeah. But could you imagine walking around with that type of stress on you?
No.
That would be horrible. Knowing all kinds of stuff about other people that you shouldn't know. But, at least nowadays they have somewhere to reach out, because I could imagine in the past it would drive people crazy if they couldn't talk to anybody, and probably go into their to the priest at a church or something to be the only person they probably feel comfortable talking with. That would be horrible.
Well, that was kind of like back in the day. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but you didn't really admit to people that you used to love on a Saturday afternoon, sitting home watching Leonard Nimoy and In Search Of, right? Because
Yeah, I remember that show.
Yeah, everybody was like, "You watched that show?" You didn't talk about stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely a different world that we're living in, for sure. So, is there anything what would you like to see come out of this? Or would you like to see people try to contact you? Would you like to see people just reach out and ask questions, follow you on Facebook? Do you want to give any information on any of that stuff?
Well, if they want to follow us on Facebook, that would be great. If they're in the area and they want to maybe come out and do investigations, that would be great. If they have a residence or a business where they're not sure about and they would like us to come out and investigate, we would do that. I think the only thing really that I'd like to see come out of this or the whole paranormal thing is just awareness and some sort of unity. Nobody's better than anybody else. There's really no experts here. This is all unknown. There's no absolutes. And we just all need to treat each other a little bit more kindly and support each other, and what somebody's into. Okay, they're into that. Respect that and just leave it right there. And, that's what I think I'd like to see. Everybody just get along and help each other rather than, not.
No, in perfect words, man. I'm glad you said that. What are your thoughts, Chris?
No, I totally agree. It's sad to see people, want to try to be better than everybody. They think they're going to make millions doing this, right? And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, it's expensive. I don't charge Tracy for doing all this stuff, all the fees and subscriptions and the out-of-pocket expense for equipment, and it does. Am I right? It does.
No,
but
I
we do
agree.
it for the love, and I'm not better than anybody, and anything that I can help somebody with, I'm game. I'm going to help them.
Yeah. Agreed. And it's just like Paralink.com, right? Everything's free, but everybody thinks that you could just build it and it doesn't cost anything to build it. I still have to pay the LLC fee. I still had to pay the trademark. I still had to pay all this and that. But it ain't anything I'm ever going to make really any money on. I mean, it's free. How am I going to make any money? We're just trying to get people there to content. It's basically a Facebook for the paranormal community. But for the how much I've learned over the last 5 or 6 years from the paranormal community and the good experience I personally have experienced with people, I felt a need back in January that to make something like that, to try to just join people together. Like we talked about potential negativity amongst people. On there, it's kind of a vote off the island thing. If somebody's on there, they're spreading negativity and you get too many red flags, because you can red flag them. You get too many red flags, we're going to call you out on it.
I would like to see, I don't know what you'd want to call it for lack of a better term, like a Paracon or a conference or something with absolutely zero celebrities and, just groups coming together to share evidence, trade T-shirts, talk about experiences, and then maybe have different talks. But, nothing about, I think if you're into this for making money, that's the wrong thing. You do this because you have questions. You do this because you want to learn. You do this because you want to have some validation and proof. And you don't do this me personally, I don't do this to make money. Like you said, T-shirts cost money. The equipment costs money. That all costs money, but you do it because you have that passion to do it. Yeah. And if you're in it to make money, I don't think you're going to have that's not what it's for.
Now, I've read a bunch of paragons, and I'm not trying to be negative in any way, but there are some paragons of people that I've never really even heard of. But good for them that they're doing it. And I would never tell somebody, hey, don't do that just because of that. But I do like your idea of that with just people getting together, sharing their stories, getting other people to come in, just normal people just come in off the streets and being able to just talk to them, maybe not even charge them to come in. I don't know if they charge or not. I've never really been to any.
I think the Paracons are good with the celebrities and all there, because if you have different locations, historical locations, and we all know that a lot of times these places struggle, they're in disrepair, they need money for a roof, they need money for windows. If they're doing it and they got the celebrities there to draw that money for the location, the facility, that's great. I don't know how many of the people volunteer their free time to go there so they could be a draw to raise money for that location. I think they're good. But I mean, me personally, I don't want to go sit and talk to somebody that does exactly what I do the way they do it, but they kind of lucked out and got, a TV show out of it, and I didn't. I mean, there's no difference think about it. There's no difference in how somebody uses an EMF detector or a cat ball or a REM. We all do the same thing straight across the board. I just think other people lucked out and they got, a show, and that's great. And they have a great platform where they can elevate the whole study in the field of paranormal to a good level.
Yes, totally agree with that.
I agree with you. Yes, sir. Well, if they want to get a hold of you, they're going to go to Chiron Paranormal on Facebook, guys. Look it up. And I noticed you have two different ones on there. There's a para.
Yeah, that's just normal. Me.
Oh, that's you. Okay.
Yeah, that's just me not being like all technical. So for some reason, I got the page and then a group came out of it, but it's the same exact thing. So I guess I should get rid of one or the other. But yeah, we're all the same.
They do. Most people that I ask, they'll look you up both ways, man. So that's cool. Okay. I really appreciate you guys coming on and answering my message when I sent it to you. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
It has for us, and this is cool. And this is, I think, what kind of brings that whole positive spin to the thing. Everybody just getting together, talking about experiences. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong, nobody's better, nobody's worse, and that's what we need to do. We all just got to come, because we're all looking for the same thing, right?
That's right.
Oh yeah.
So
give us some proof. That's what I'm looking for.
And if anybody out there is in like the tri-state area, if you want to get together and do some, I don't know what you would call it, some group investigations, we're all about that. We like doing that. And a lot of times, and we've done that once or twice. And what that's good for too also is a lot of these places, they charge a pretty penny. So a lot of times when two groups can get together, we can bring the cost down individually for the members, so we're not paying a fortune.
How far are you? How far are you from Buffalo, New York? Just curious. I know Pennsylvania's out that way, but
so I'm in Philadelphia. I don't know, maybe 3-4 hours.
So there's a place called the Hinsdale House.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, that's actually supposed to be Daniel Klaus. He's been on our show too, but he's really a straight up fair guy, and he's not out there trying to make money off it. He's just trying to build to fix the house up and give it repair. But if you have an opportunity, I would check that out. If you guys are looking for a place to hunt, and look anyway, just look it up on Facebook and play some of the videos that might intrigue you enough to maybe want to go there. I know you got plenty of stuff in your area over in that part of the country. It's a lot more than I got here in St. Louis. So
it's pretty old and run down and historic. Yeah.
Well, Grizzly, what do you think, buddy?
Yeah. Well, thank you all again for coming on, and from coast to coast around the world. That's a wrap. We'll catch you on the next show. Bye.
Thanks so much.
See you guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ha ha ha.